So let's now implement our JWT generator, and what we'll do inside the logic here is we need to build up the token before we can return it, and our token can take a list of our claims and return this inside our token. Now the only claim that we're going to have at the moment is our username, but that's fine. We'll still create this as a list of claims just in case we want to add additional claims later on. So we'll say var claims equals new list, and it's going to be of type claim. And we'll say using system collections generic, and we'll also be using system security claims. And what we want to do is say new claim, and we want to use the third overload here. We want to give the type of the claim as well as the value of the claim inside our new claim here. And what we want to use as the claim type is JWT registered claim names dot name ID, and we'll find that this is not available inside our infrastructure class library. So what we need to do is we need to add another package into our infrastructure project. And what we need here is system.identityModel.tokens.jwt. And this provides us with access to the JWT registered claims names. And let's add this. And we'll just take the latest version of this and add it to our infrastructure project, and then click on restore. And once this has completed, we should be able to make use of system identity model tokens JWT for our JWT registered claim names. And the second part of this is the claim that we want, and in this case this is going to be our user.username. And when we create our token, this is going to add our username as a name ID inside our token that we send back. And later on, what we'll be able to do is, as our request comes into our API, we'll be able to get our username outside of the token, or from the token that's being sent up to our server, and make use of it inside our application. Now we've got our list of claims, which just contains a single claim. What we need to do next is generate some signing credentials, because each token has to be signed by our API before it leaves the API. So I'm going to say, just a comment, generate signing credentials. And it's these signing credentials that allows our API to trust the token that's being sent from the client. So we'll generate a key, and we'll say var key equals new, and then we need to say symmetric security key, and we also need to bring in Microsoft Identity Model tokens to use this. And this symmetric security key takes a string as a byte array. So what we'll need to do is pass in a string for this, but convert it into an array of bytes. And one way we can do this, and there's many ways we can do this, we can use encoding, which we get from system.text, and UTF-8, and then we can say get bytes, and then we can pass our string into this. Now this is our token key, and this remains on our server. And I'm going to use a simple string for this. I'm just going to say super secret key as the key that we're going to sign our tokens with. Now it's highly important that this remains on the server and is never sent to the client in any way, because each of our tokens is going to be signed with this particular key, and if this string gets out into the open, then all of our tokens can be signed by the person that has access to this key, and our server would trust it. Now another thing is this needs to be a certain number of characters. I think the number of characters it needs to be is 11 or 12. So you can't just use super, you would need to use something longer than that. And what this should really be is an exceedingly long string of text that's just about impossible for anybody to guess. And we will look at a better way of storing this rather than hard coding it into here, but for now this will suffice. What we need to create them are some credentials, and what we'll do is we'll say var creds equals new, and we'll say signing credentials, and this takes our key as well as an algorithm that we want to use with this key. So I'm going to specify our key, and then we'll just take the strongest algorithm that's available, and we'll say security algorithms, and we'll say HMAC 512 signature. So what we need to do then is describe some data about our token. So we'll say var token descriptor equals new security token descriptor, and inside here what we want to do, we want to set the subject equal to new claims identity, and we'll pass in our claims. We'll need to give our token an expiry date, and what I'm going to do is just use datetime and bring in system.now, and what I'm going to do is just add days and 7, and this means our token can be used for 7 days, which is not great from a security point of view, but please remember we're still developing our application. Our job at the moment is not to make our application extremely hard to get into whilst we're building and developing our application. We can always lock our application down at the end, which is what we're going to do, and for the time being we just want to make our application easy to work with. The tighter the security, the more difficult it is to work with. So at the moment this is going to be 7 days long for our token. It's going to last for 7 days. And what we also need to pass this is the signing credentials, and we'll specify this as creds. So after our token descriptor we need to create a token handler. So we'll say var token handler equals new JWT security token handler. And below this we can actually go ahead and create the token. So we'll say var token equals token handler dot create token, and then we can pass in our token descriptor. And then what we want to do is write the token. So we'll say return token handler and write token, and we'll pass in our token. So there's a little bit of work to create one of these JWT tokens, and we build up our list of claims. In our case, just one claim. We're just going to return the username as a name identifier claim. Then we generate our signing credentials so that we can actually sign our token, and it's this signature, it's these credentials that we pass on with our token that allows our server to validate the token without needing to query the database. So this means our method of authentication is very fast. And because our token needs to be sent with every single request, because we don't maintain a connection with our API, it's useful to have this as a fast mechanism to authenticate each particular request. And if we did have to go to our database, then obviously that's going to slow down our requests, because making a call to our database is extra work, obviously. So then we describe our token and we give it a subject which includes our claims. We give it an expiry date. At the moment this is going to be 7 days. And we also pass it our signing credentials. And then the rest of this code is to generate and create the token before writing it out and returning it. So what we'll take a look at next is how we can return a token when a user signs in to our application.